Hi everyone, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Zayna Ratty. Zayna is a hypno-psychotherapist who is based in Oxford. She is also a specialist in LGBTQIA plus and gender, sexual and relationship diversity. Now, I've been through Zayna's bio and it is really long and also really impressive. So to give you just a little bit of what she's involved in, Zayna is the founder of the Queer PoC Therapist Network. She is an academic board member and presenter at various different organisations, including Oxford University. And Zayna also writes mental health and diversity training for charities and corporations. So welcome, Zayna.
Hello.
There is a lot I could have added to that introduction. So maybe before we go any further, you'd like to tell us something about yourself and, maybe draw attention to whatever I might have missed.
Yeah, cool. I guess that first, I'm aware there's a little bit of feedback on my microphone. First, I'm a mum of 5 and a grandmother, and that's something that I'm extremely proud of. Secondly, I've a couple of months ago became the first PoC female to be chair of Oxford Pride, which is a huge organisation in Oxford. And I'm also chair of a mental health charity called Oxfriend, and we run a helpline. So I run groups with Oxford University, so I run their LGBTQIA plus support groups, and I run a group with a charity called Turning Point, which is a substance misuse charity.
Okay.
So yeah, I get around and I do quite a bit. I had the honour of talking at the first ever Bi Pride this last Saturday, actually, in London, which was amazing. They had 1,300 people come through the door that day. So I think unofficially, it's the largest ever Bi Pride in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you've definitely got plenty to be keeping you busy.
I like to add the caveat that I only have 3 children at home. 2 are moved out.
Oh well then. Nothing to do.
No, totally. I just sit around.
Spare time in your hands.
This week I have, actually, because my youngest started reception this week. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's momentous in itself.
It is.
This will be your first year presenting at the UKIHC.
It will be, yes.
And you will be giving a presentation on the Friday afternoon entitled Striving Towards Therapeutic Competence Within Societal Non-Conforming Narratives.
Yeah.
And I just love the sound of this presentation. It sounds really interesting. Perhaps you could begin by just giving listeners to begin with an overview, a breakdown of just what they can expect from this talk. Yeah.
So I'm going to be going through a few things, and one of them is kind of a self-reflective question about our own practices, and around that kind of sexuality and gender and relationship diversity that quite often isn't present in base training courses. It's something that you have to go on and do and train additionally with. And that's about seeing the nuances in things. So, understanding that LGBT people are 2 or 3 times more likely to suffer with depression, for instance, than somebody who identifies as heterosexual. So I will be going through a thing called Joe Court's stages of coming out. So in therapeutic practice, we can use these tools to spot if a client might have a GSRD concern going on there. So I shorten it to GSRD, that's gender, sexuality and relationship diversity. So it's basically anything that fits outside of the heteronormative. As most of us grew up in a time where it was one man, one woman, and you bought a house and a dog and had children. Now it's very much different. Those structures within which we think we should be living are falling apart. And we are striving towards a new type of normative lifestyle.
Yeah.
So some of the things that I'm going to be talking about is kind of considering asexuality, for instance. So if we have a client that comes to us and they have loss of libido, they're having marriage problems, whatever, are we considering that there could be an undercurrent of sexuality there, and an undercurrent of kind of that internalized phobia that quite often happens?
Yeah.
I'm going to be going through H.S. Sullivan's The South System, which I really love because it's a really nice, easy way of recognizing that even us as therapists who are impartial and congruent with clients, sometimes we actively protect ourselves from processing information that might cause us to reevaluate what we see are kind of pre-existing self-perceptions. I'm going to be going through a thing called consensual non-monogamy. Now, consensual non-monogamy is polyamory. It's sometimes called ethical non-monogamy, but we use the term consensual non-monogamy because everybody is involved in that being a consensual act.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a really interactive bit of the presentation. So it's going to be, whatever questions, and just talking about the difference between polyamory and polyandry, for instance.
Yeah. I mean, I think just addressing these terminologies is, helpful in itself because, lots of us like to think that we know a lot more about these things than we actually do. It is a whole other world when we begin to get into these terminologies, and the terminologies are evolving so fast. Mm-hmm.
Presentations that I made 3 or 4 years ago are outdated in terminology aspects, so it's something that is constantly updating itself.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot to keep track of. Even me who work in it are just like, oh, so there's a new one, or there's a new classification, or so just to give kind of a basic overview of those classifications. I'm going to be going into BDSM.
Okay.
Clients that come to us who are thinking about hierarchical sexual practices.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? How can we ensure clients are safeguarded? Talking about the language within therapeutic settings that we're using for these sexual practices. Just, the scope of what is a healthy sex life is really big. So to be comfortable with using terminology that we might think, oh, well, I didn't understand that, so I won't use it. So I'm hoping to go through a rundown of some of the terminologies around hierarchical sexual practices as well.
And just bringing an awareness to, like you say, that language really is the first step in, therapists being able to feel comfortable in
absolutely
things.
When we don't know about things, we kind of can run off to a standpoint of fearful. And just as we are trained to read our client's tonus, a client can read ours.
And you mentioned something in your presentation, information about just being present with clients that come to us with issues that are outside what's considered the norm. And obviously we want to be present with all of our clients, but being present with those clients in particular.
Absolutely. Concealment is one of the number one causes of psychological distress amongst these minority communities. So what we want to provide is a safe, confidential space for our clients to evaluate these things with us. I wrote a piece not so long ago for Refinery 29 around a survey that came out, a study that was done around clients who conceal things from their therapists. And, we do struggle when a client is concealing something that society is kind of encouraging them to hold on to. you know, even before they enter a therapeutic setting or think, actually, I need to go and see a therapist, they, you know, when they get to you, they are bringing with them that kind of internalized phobia, because we do live, unfortunately, in still a little bit of a sex negative culture.
Yeah.
Which says that these things aren't the norm.
Yeah.
They are wrong. That kind of black and white, quite binary thinking that should be expanded, really.
Yeah.
You know, different things work for different people.
Yeah.
So, or, you know, Deepak Chopra said, you know, awareness brings freedom from fixed beliefs, and that's so true.
Yeah. A little bit of education can, you know, in these areas can go a long way. Just therapists no longer feeling intimidated by these matters and able to discuss them. Yeah.
We all had, when we did our, you know, sex education at school, and we had a teacher kind of fumbling to put a condom on a cucumber, that sort of thing, and you know, going red cheeked and fumbling, and you know, we don't want to be like that in a therapeutic setting. We need to be, okay, so you're bringing this to the table, because we're never entirely sure what a client's going to bring into the room with them.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I don't necessarily have all of the knowledge around this area, but I'm aware that this exists.
Yeah.
And I'm aware in how we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Openly.
Yeah. Yeah, which, you know, I suppose just lends itself to that framework of, you know, being more inclusive.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds great. So, listeners then, am I right in thinking, can expect to just increase their awareness around this area generally, and then specifically kind of pick up on some of the terminologies?
Yes, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about kind of a deeper understanding of LGBTQIA+, the classifications of that, being able to differentiate between the classifications of sexuality and gender and relationship diversity, that kind of leading on into practice and the increased ability to demonstrate the core conditions within a therapeutic framework when presented with these types of issues.
Yeah.
You know, kind of listing the most common incarnations of consensual non-monogamy, of CNM, and knowing the differences between those as well.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's all about awareness and kind of personal and professionally being familiar with terms that we might not have encountered ever before. That's why there's a big bit of the presentation that is Q&A, and that's kind of how I present a lot, in that I get there and I go, okay, so what do you need to know? Where are the gaps in your knowledge? Rather than me just going, well, this is this and this is this and this is this, because actually people in the room might already know that.
Yeah. So you'll be responding to the audience on the day then, and
absolutely,
feeding back what they want to hear from your presentation.
Yeah, and furthering the knowledge of everybody in the room.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds to me like a really valuable contribution to, you know, the field of therapy generally. The more inclusive we can be to the client in the chair and not feel scared of, you know, not knowing what it is that we're being presented with.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to hearing you at the convention this year. So for anyone who would still like to find out about the convention, or would still like to get tickets, or would like to hear more about Zayna's presentation, you can go to ukhypnosisconvention.co.uk and find out all you need to know there. And so I look forward to seeing you in November. Zayna, thank you very much for your time. It's been really interesting and just, you know, kind of really educational. Really looking forward to hearing more about what you have to say.
Hopefully not just educational, but a bit of a laugh and a bit of a safe, confidential space too. So.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And so until November, Zayna, I will see you then.
Absolutely. See everybody in November.
Thank you. Bye-bye.